The City Below the Cloud by T.S. Galindo. Read by the author. Chapter 7. The Monkey. Kalan apprehensively opened her eyes as the haze of unconsciousness faded. She was sitting against a wall with her hands tied together in her lap. In front of her was her own rotting corpse, still illuminated by the spotlight. To her right stood the creek. Its body was a collection of fungus fibers and roots twisted around each other to form the idea of a human, but there was nothing human about it. It stood eerily still, not breathing or shifting its weight. Kalan looked around the room. A large crack went up one corner and extended across the ceiling. Water leaking from the crack streamed down the wall. The trickling sound echoed around the small concrete cube of a room. Its particular vibration made her spine twinge, increasing her anxiety about the situation. The stream filled a giant shelf mushroom, pooling in it, creating a reservoir for hundreds of smaller mushrooms. Their thin, hair-like mycelium reached over the brim of the shelf, drinking the water and its acidic nutrients. The walls were covered in an assortment of fungi. She only recognized a few of the species, which she found odd, being intimately familiar with the city's mushroom population. Pods of tiny round caps peeked through the larger ones. That familiar black substance oozed from many of them, forming small puddles on the floor. It was a kaleidoscopic rainbow of life blooming out of nothing but tainted water. Kalan had to reject her feelings of awe and beauty to hold on to her hate for what these things were doing to her. As she stared at the mushrooms, a small patch on the far side of the shelf pool moved. A small, furry hand reached out from beneath the rogue cluster, and then another. The clump tore away from the rest of the colony with a crunch and rose out of the darkness. The mushrooms were growing from the skull of a small monkey. Its cranium was split open where the cluster emerged. Its eyes had been replaced with old prosthetics that looked like black coins with a bug-like sheen across their surfaces. Its lower jaw was missing. In its place was an old voice synthesizer. The unit, larger than the poor creature's features, was grafted onto its skin with bits of wire and small amounts of bio-goo. The light brown fur of the animal was patchy and matted. Other prosthetics were mounted onto its small body to keep it functioning in this hellish existence. Its breathing was shallow and labored. The goo bubbled around the voice box with each painful-sounding breath. Kalan felt terrible for the poor animal. The monkey slowly climbed onto the Kalan corpse's ribcage and crouched there while observing the living Kalan with its directionless artificial gaze. "Where have you been?" A heavily distorted mechanical voice buzzed out of the voice synthesizer, slow and without emotion. Kalan didn't know how to react, or even what the creature meant. She stayed silent, trying to think of something to say. "You failed to complete your task," came the mechanical voice again. "What task? What's going on? Where am I? Who are you? Who is that? And why does she look like me?" The questions erupted out of her all at once. She started squirming, trying to free her wrists from the wire. The creep monster moved swiftly, grabbing Kalan's shoulders and shoving her against the wall. Kalan tensed up and ceased her attempts at freedom, then looked back at the monkey. After a moment of silence, the mechanical voice spoke again. "Simply put, we are the fungi of the city. You are here because we need you." "So what, you tried to make some kind of disgusting fungus prosthetic of me and it didn't work, so you decided to force the real me to help you take over the rest of the city?" Another awkward pause, then, "No, you are the copy. This is the human we made you from." Kalan's blood drained from her head and a cold sweat drenched her body. She felt lightheaded, like she might pass out again. Her brain rushed to deny what she'd just heard despite the evidence in front of her and her experiences in the last 2 cycles. She had to refuse it. For the sake of her sanity, for her very existence, she had to refuse it. If she refused it, it couldn't be true. "No, I'm not. I can't be. I'm not a mushroom. I'm human. You're lying." "No, we took this human and created a near-perfect copy of it to suit our needs. You are that copy, a tool we need in order to save ourselves from the humans." Kalan sat, shaking. Her mind was shutting down against what it was hearing. The mechanical voice continued. We do not wish to take over the city. We have never sought conquest. Our kind existed eons before the humans and their boned ilk crawled out of the oceans, and we will exist long after they have obliterated themselves into nothingness. Normally, we don't need to kill. We feed on what is already dead. The humans kill without reason, out of convenience, which is why we need you. We are being threatened by the humans and must act in order to continue to live within the city. It's a lie. You kill all the time. We have to wear masks to protect ourselves from you. The tiniest spore can kill us, eating us alive. No. Long ago, maybe we posed a small threat to humans, individually. But now, the bio-goo destroys us from their bodies, protecting them from any danger. Only an overwhelming dose directly into a human's lungs could kill them, and even that has not happened for several of their generations. That's not true. I've heard of it happening. I've known... You've known nothing. You've only existed for 3 cycles. Your original knew nothing either. Stories she heard, exaggerated stories of fear from the past. Why would people keep telling stories if there were no real threat anymore? Few things endure like fear and fungus. Their entire existence is fear. It's their only means of survival. They fear what hurts them. They fear what might hurt them. They fear themselves and each other. They fear having too little and having too much. But most of all, they fear being alone, yet reject any connection to anything at all. They are fear. What are you then? You feed on the dead and destroy everything you touch. We do not destroy, we create. We absorb the unused and discarded and reconnect it with the rest of the living world. There was a pause, but before Kalan said anything else, the mechanical voice cut her off. Enough. This conversation is useless. You are one of us, and you must do what we made you to do. And what is that? Save us. There is a human with great power who seeks to eradicate us. I destroy fungus every cycle. What makes them any different? Yes, the human you came from destroyed us, but only small pieces. One mushroom or a bit of root structure is nothing to us. We reconnect. We endure. We don't care about the scrubbers. They pose no real threat to us. They merely remove us from the places useful to the humans. This human seeks to destroy all of us, every last spore, just to keep us off a few vents and walkways. I agree with them. It put me out of a job, but I can always find something else to do. She spat with venom at the primate avatar. You will be dead either way. Your amalgamated form is deteriorating even faster than the human you came from. Your body will only last 3 more cycles before you fall apart completely. Another chill dripped down her body. Her tongue probed the hole where her tooth used to be. She felt it within her. She knew it was true, but she still fought against it. The human we seek lives above the cloud, where we cannot reach. But we hear all. Our roots go deep in the city, deeper than anyone knows. We know of his plot to use a chemical to melt us off the buildings, and then another to prevent us from taking root again. Above the cloud? How could anyone live above the cloud? Nothing can go that high. The 575th floor? Does it really exist? She'd been in a few of the larger buildings before, mostly as a kid. When one of her friends would get some extra pips, they'd find one of the tallest buildings and ride the elevators, all the way up to the cloud to look out over the city. They'd try to look up, but the cloud was too thick, too dark. Even looking down was like staring into a shadow. She'd barely be able to make out the neon signs speckling the view. Kalan spoke again. If they just don't want you to cover the vents and walkways, why don't you just not do that? You're obviously smart enough to take over bodies and make these monsters. Just stay away from the human things. This form, as well as yours, is an extreme reaction to an extreme threat. To consolidate our consciousness into a central location like this takes an enormous amount of energy. It is wasteful. We do not like to be wasteful. We do not deign to govern and restrict our individual selves and minds like the humans do. Besides, this human's motives are more complicated than just wanting us to behave. He would seek to eradicate us no matter how benign we were. It is an alien concept to us, but he does this for personal gain and cannot be dissuaded from it. How can one man even do what you say? It takes hundreds, maybe thousands of scrubbers just to clean you off tiny spots. Let him do what he wants. He can't make any real difference alone, not to something as big as you. Your original did not understand the world above the cloud. She did not even know it existed. They are not like the humans you or she have known. They command legion. Who do you think sends those thousands of scrubbers? That's true. I have no idea where the tasks come from. I always thought the city sent them. Maybe the terminals? Where else would they come from? This 575th floor? This is also of no importance. We created you to kill this man. We made you when we knew he would create a job for a scrubber to go to him. We sent you out to complete the job, but you disappeared. It seems the replication of the human was more perfect than we thought. You retained her memories, her motivations, and her feelings for her human family. We suspect you went back to them, as if nothing had happened, and tried to resume her life. But as we said, you cannot do this. You are not one of them. You are one of us. Your body will rot, and you would be just as useless to them as this corpse. You have no home to go back to. You must do as we created you to do. We have given you purpose. You should be grateful. It is something most humans struggle their entire lonely lives to find, and you have it in singular intensity. Kalan's resolve was beginning to fade. It's true. It has to be. It explains everything. The air can, the dreamless sleeps, the stun baton. My body couldn't process those things because it wasn't meant to. I can't go back. What do you want me to do? She asked, quietly and defeated. You will accept the job, go up and complete the task he requests. Then you'll kill him. He is the one driving the attack against us. Once he is gone, our threat will be gone as well. Why not just send this thing? She said, gesturing to the mushroom golem beside her. Surely it's stronger than I am. I don't even know if I can kill someone. The human wouldn't trust anything but another human. This beast is little more than a walking brute. We had to create it to make sure you came back, and it will make sure you go to the job this time. But it wouldn't be able to get close enough to the man to kill him. And if others knew we were capable of retaliation, there would be a war. We do not want a war. It, too, would be wasteful. We do not waste. We use everything. I still don't know if I can. What if I'm not strong enough? You said this man is powerful. Do what the human requests of you. There you'll find all the tools you need to finish the real job. The monkey host paused and moved closer to her. The putrid stench of rot and infection was overwhelming. I take it by these questions that you have accepted your purpose and will perform it. I don't think I really have a choice, do I? No, you don't. You never did. That is the price of purpose. I do have one question. Why me? Or why her? She asked, finally admitting what she felt was true. Prosthetics. We needed a scrubber without prosthetics. The biogoo they use to attach them kills fungi, as we said. You are a very close copy of the human, but you are still fungus. It's also what protected you from the other humans' electric attack. Their stun batons have no effect on us. The monkey moved closer still. Its tiny hands grabbed the task coordinator and reviewed it. Good. The human has put in the request again. It accepted the job and put the device on her lap. Take her. Make sure she gets on the elevator this time. The avatar crawled back to the mushroom pool and sank back into its position in the canvas of mushrooms. Kalan looked at it all again with new appreciation. She could accept its beauty now, a little anyway. The faceless creature pulled her onto her feet effortlessly and untwisted the wire from her wrists. It gripped the collar of the scrub suit tight and led her out into the street to one of the largest buildings in the city. She hadn't ever been in one of them. They had no entrances, despite being 10 blocks in diameter and ascending into the cloud. She never knew what they were for, but she never thought they went above the cloud. They walked to a large metal portion of the wall. The creature took the task coordinator and pressed it against the surface. The wall groaned and sank into the ground. It's a door, an elevator. The inside was bright and large. The creature shoved her against the back wall, then flung the task coordinator at her as the door rose again. There were no buttons inside, nowhere to put a pip or to tell it how high to go. When the door finished closing, the elevator moved uncomfortably fast on its own. The inside of the door lit up with bright blue numbers indicating what floor she was on. When she got to the 30th floor, she decided it was going to be a long ride, and sat down with her back against the wall and her arms crossed over her knees. She put her chin on her arms and watched the numbers change. She started to try to process everything that had just happened.